Jakarta is Southeast Asia's biggest capital, but holds another title as the world's fastest sinking city. Overpopulation, severe flooding, and the climate crisis plagued the city, forcing the Indonesian government to create a whole new capital from scratch. This new city is known as Nusantara, a futuristic utopia ran on green energy. And on this episode of Built a Billion, we uncover the horrors of Jakarta and show you how a brand new mega project will save an entire city. Nusantara actually translates to archipelago in Javanese and is a reflection of the country's desire to expand economically, and expanding they are, as this will be the largest infrastructure project in Indonesian history. The new capital will be located in East Kalimantan on the island of Borneo, and the move will cost an estimated $35 billion. The plan to move Indonesia's capital 800 miles to the island of Borneo was first announced in 2019 by President Joni Widodo, and soon after, the Indonesian parliament passed a law that approved the capital's new location, a new location that will allow it to exploit its central position to become a dominant Indo-Pacific maritime power. This location is strategic for another reason, as it's in the middle of the Indonesian archipelago and largely untouched by the frequent natural disasters that plague the rest of Indonesia. There is hope that the city will be home to 2 million talented residents sourced locally and from around the globe by 2045. Things must be in pretty bad shape over in Jakarta for the government to want to just throw the whole city away. But just how bad is it? Jakarta is literally sinking while trying to accommodate its population of 11 million that frequently swells to 30 million. It's built on a delta system of 13 rivers, and astonishingly, 40% of the city is submerged, as the city's dense population doesn't allow for water to seep into the soil. So, flooding is an ongoing problem that will only get worse due to climate change and deteriorating infrastructure. And this is also affecting the economy. Jakarta loses $6 billion a year in productivity each year due to traffic congestion and flooding. A new capital would alleviate that pressure and do wonders for their economy. So, what's the new capital like? It can be hard to imagine the scope of building an entirely new capital, but efforts are underway. In August of 2022, the first shovel of earth was turned over at the site of Nusantara. The new administrative center of Indonesia will be built on an area of inland forest that's 3 times the size of New York City. And the first priority of construction is a toll road called the Sepaku Ring Road. This will be the main access road and is already 80% finished. This $350 million phase will also consist of acquiring land and coming up with a concrete engineering plan, and will last until 2024. Over the course of the project's construction, infrastructure will be built to support urban utilities, manufacturing, seaports, airports, and more. It will all start with the Presidential Palace, the central government HQ, housing for government workers, and the headquarters for military personnel. Having aims of becoming a low-carbon super hub, 100% of Nusantara's energy will come from renewable resources, with 80% of its mobility coming from public transport, biking, or walking. But who's paying for this? Before we answer that, if you love to hear about all the mega projects of the world and you're loving this content, please subscribe to the channel and help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. It'll really help the channel out. Now back to the video. This mega project will need major investment, which provides many opportunities for foreign business. The Indonesian government itself will provide about 60% of the $35 billion needed, with the remaining funds being supplied by the private sector. But Nusantara is still in its beginning stages due to delays like the pandemic, and it's hard to imagine all the ambitious plans of this new city being realized. For instance, construction has just barely begun, but Indonesia wants its government buildings moved there by 2024. Japanese investors actually pulled their funding after taking a trip to the site and being met with mostly just trees and a sign that read Nusantara Ground Zero. They were concerned with the project's lack of vision, in their words. So where do you turn to find investors with near unlimited money that will invest in any project no matter how silly it sounds? Why, the Middle East, of course. The regions of Kalimantan, where the new capital would lie, now contribute less than 10% of the country's total GDP, despite having an abundance of coal, gold, and oil. On top of this, the citizens located outside of the island of Java have long complained about feeling forgotten by the government. The move to East Kalimantan would hopefully encourage investment into Indonesia's outlier provinces that will result in inclusivity and development. But not everyone is in love with the prospect of Nusantara. There's been concern about the damage that will be done to endangered species in the area. Kalimantan is one of the few places on Earth that orangutans thrive in. Indigenous groups in Borneo are also not pleased with the potential city in their home and are worried about the environment and their culture. Furthermore, they have no legal claim to the land, as no governments acknowledge ancestral land claims, meaning the indigenous peoples will be relocated and not compensated. On top of this, the success rate for building new capitals doesn't look too good right now. For example, Brazil's new capital of Brasilia just reinforced segregation, while Myanmar's new capital is just a mostly empty ghost town. Nigeria's new capital lacked an affordable housing plan that ended up creating more slums in its wake. Hey, maybe Nusantara will be successful and can be the model for future cities wanting to change their capitals. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, click a video on the screen to watch something you haven't seen. And thanks for visiting Built a Billion.